You've definitely heard of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. It's one of those books that's so famous, it's almost become a part of our culture. But you know what? There's a really good reason it's stuck around for so long. This isn't about quick fixes or some trendy life hack. Nope. It's a deep dive into how you can fundamentally change your effectiveness from the inside out. So let's get into exactly why this framework is still so incredibly powerful today.
What a quote, right? This idea from Emerson is the perfect starting point. It basically says that our actions, our very being, speak so much louder than our words. And this is the core idea Stephen Covey builds his entire philosophy on. See, true, lasting effectiveness isn't about what you say or how you look. It's about who you are. It's all about character. So if character is so important, where did we go wrong? Well, Covey argues that for the last century or so, the whole self-help world has kind of been focused on the wrong things. Let's take a look at what he means by that. For a long, long time, the focus was on building character. Things like integrity, humility, courage. But then, something shifted. The focus turned to personality, your public image, your charm, your communication techniques. Covey saw this as a really dangerous trend. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. It might look good for a little while, but eventually, it's all going to come crashing down. True success is always an inside job. So, how do we get back to building that solid foundation of character? That's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by understanding the power of our own perspectives. Then we'll dive into the habits of self-mastery, the habits of working with others, and finally, the one habit that makes it all sustainable. Okay, before we can even think about changing our habits, we have to talk about something even more fundamental. We have to understand the lens through which we see the world. Covey calls this our paradigm. And honestly, it's the key to unlocking any real, lasting change. Imagine you're standing in the middle of Chicago, trying to find your way around. But here's the catch. Someone gave you a map of Detroit. You can try everything, you can work on your attitude, you can hustle and run faster, but you're just going to get more and more lost, frustrated, and exhausted. That's exactly what it's like to live with a flawed paradigm. You can work as hard as you want, but you will never reach your destination until you get the right map. Now, you've probably heard this classic tale before, but it's a powerful metaphor for one of Covey's most important principles. So there's this farmer, and he's blessed with a goose that lays a solid gold egg every single day. He's set, but greed starts to creep in. He thinks, why wait for one egg a day when I can have them all right now? And in a moment of pure foolishness, he makes a huge mistake. And this brings us to what Covey calls the P/PC balance. P stands for production. That's the golden eggs, the results you want. And P stands for production capability. That's the goose itself, the asset that produces the results. Think about it in your own life. If you work 80 hours a week to get a project done, you might get that golden egg, but you'll burn yourself out, you'll damage your health, your relationships, you've basically killed the goose. True effectiveness is all about finding that balance. So how do we maintain that P/PC balance? Well, it all starts with what Covey calls the private victory. These are the first 3 habits, and they're all about mastering yourself. They're about moving from being dependent on other people and circumstances to being truly independent, being in the driver's seat of your own life. These 3 habits are the absolute foundation. Seriously, it's about taking control, figuring out what your own personal definition of success is, and then having the discipline to make that vision a reality, day in and day out. I mean, just think about that for a second. It's so powerful. It's a reminder that we are not just a product of our circumstances. Stuff is always going to happen to us. That's the stimulus. But we have this incredible freedom in that tiny little space to choose how we respond. And that is the essence of being proactive. So how do we actually do that? It's about focusing on what you can actually control. We all have this huge circle of concern, all the things we worry about but can't really change, like global politics or the weather. Proactive people, though, they focus their energy on their circle of influence, the stuff they can actually do something about. And here's the amazing part. The more you focus on your circle of influence, the bigger it actually gets. Okay, this next habit is, well, it's a bit of a gut punch, but it's one of the most powerful exercises in the whole book. Covey asks you to imagine your own funeral. No, seriously, picture it. Who's there? What do you want them to say about you when you're gone? As a partner, a parent, a friend, a colleague? That feeling you get, right there, that is your true north, your real definition of success. It's not about money or titles, it's about the legacy you leave.
All right, so once you have that end in mind, the next critical question is, are your daily actions actually getting you there? That's where habit 3 comes in. It's about making sure that you're not just busy, but that you're busy with the things that are truly deeply important to you. It's about organizing your life around your most important priorities.
So once you've mastered yourself, you're proactive, you know your destination, and you're prioritizing what matters, you're ready for the next level. This is what Covey calls the public victory. And this isn't about being a lone wolf. It's about learning how to work effectively with other people to achieve something way bigger than you could on your own. These next 3 habits are what turn an effective individual into a true leader and collaborator. They're all about building strong relationships based on trust, really communicating effectively, and creating this awesome culture of creative cooperation. Here's a really cool way to think about this. Picture every relationship you have with your partner, your boss, your friends as a bank account, an emotional bank account. Every time you're kind, you keep a promise, you really listen, you make a deposit. Every time you're disrespectful or break a promise, you make a withdrawal. The next 3 habits are all about making massive, consistent deposits. We've all been here, right? You're trying to have a real conversation with someone, your kid, your partner, your coworker, and it just feels like you're talking to a brick wall. This super common frustration is at the very heart of the next and maybe most important habit.
And boom, there it is. Such a powerful insight. So often, it's not that the other person is being difficult. It's that we aren't truly listening to them. We're so busy trying to make our own point, trying to be understood, that we don't take the time to deeply understand where they're coming from first. It's like a doctor prescribing medicine without diagnosing the problem. It just doesn't work.
And this is where the real magic happens. When you combine that win-win mindset with deep empathic listening, you create synergy. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. It's like a great band. Each musician is talented on their own, for sure, but when they listen to each other and play together, they create something totally new and special. That's synergy. All right, so you've nailed the private victory, you've achieved the public victory. What's next? This final habit is the one that ties everything together. It's the habit that makes sure you can keep growing, improving, and staying effective for the long haul. Think about a woodcutter who's been sawing down a tree for hours. He's exhausted, and his saw is getting super dull. You come along and say, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw?" And he replies, "I can't. I'm too busy sawing." It sounds ridiculous, right? But that's how so many of us live our lives. We're so busy sawing that we forget to sharpen the saw. This final habit is about constantly investing in your greatest asset, you. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with that very question, for real. What's the one thing you could start doing today that if you did it consistently would make a huge positive difference in your life? It doesn't have to be massive. It could be a 15-minute walk every morning or reading 10 pages of a book before bed. Whatever it is, I really encourage you to start today. Because as Stephen Covey taught us, the journey to a truly effective life begins with that single proactive step.